For more on this, I'm joined by former acting Homeland Security Secretary and Executive Director of the America First Policy Institute Center for Homeland Security and Immigration, Chad Wolf. Chad, welcome.
Thank you.
So Title 42 lives a little while longer, we think. What's the impact? Should it go away?
Well, the impact, should Title 42 go away, it would just be tremendous. I think what you see is not only the historic numbers, and we just have to look at last month alone, 234 illegal apprehensions along that border, the highest number that we have ever seen and ever recorded. And I think Bill said it right, status quo remains the same because this administration is not putting any enforcement mechanisms in place to deter this illegal behavior. So even with Title 42 in place, we are still seeing record numbers of illegal apprehensions. And should it go away, you're going to see that number spike. And so if you look at last month alone, 96,000 individuals were returned under Title 42. If that's not in place, those 96,000, the vast majority of them will be released into the United States.
I'd like to dig in some more numbers with you. Over a 24-hour period this weekend, Customs and Border Protection reports Rio Grande Valley, 1,379, El Paso, 1,296, Del Rio, 1,831, Yuma, 1,285. How alarming do you find those numbers?
Well, it's alarming on a variety of fronts, not only from the human trafficking and the human smuggling, the illegal narcotics that are coming across, but also the public safety and then the national security threat. So you have all of these different crises all playing out all at the same time along that border. And we know Border Patrol is overwhelmed. 70% in most places along that border, 70% of Border Patrol agents are no longer on the line. They're no longer doing that national security mission. So you can only imagine the numbers of apprehensions should they actually be there. Instead, they're back in Border Patrol facilities processing more and more individuals. And this administration continues to say they have a plan, and the plan is simply to process more and more individuals in. So you're going to see these numbers continue because there is no plan, there is no strategy to actually try to drive the numbers down. That's not what they're after. It's not their goal. And unfortunately, it's actually being very detrimental to a lot of Americans and American communities.
Let's give our viewers some context in terms of some more numbers. The increase in encounters over the previous fiscal year, 24% up in Rio Grande Valley, 57% up in El Paso, Del Rio, 145%, and Yuma, 367%. What does that tell you about the fight at our southern border?
Well, the fight is real. It's ongoing and it's every day. And I think what the administration wants you to believe is all under control, that if they simply throw more resources at the border and they stand up more facilities to process more and more individuals, that somehow the crisis will be solved. And it's exactly the opposite. If you do that, and if Congress allows them to do that, you're going to see more and more individuals cross that border because the cartels and the smugglers know these loopholes and know what the administration is doing a day after they start doing something new or something different. And so you're going to continue to see these numbers rise until you start putting in dramatic steps and dramatic policies. So whether that's restarting the border wall, whether that's the Remain in Mexico program, asylum cooperative agreements, and on and on and on. It's things that we had to do during the Trump administration to drive those numbers down. And we don't see the current administration really talking about any of those measures.
I seem to remember Vice President Kamala Harris getting mocked for going to El Paso when it was relatively peaceful when she went to the border a year ago. And I've looked at the numbers and it's on fire now. Does that shock you that it's basically spreading along our entire southern border?
Well, it doesn't shock me. I mean, you're going to see the cartels and those are very sophisticated organizations. So they will push individuals across the border in Eagle Pass and even south of that in McAllen and South Texas in Tool. And then they understand that Border Patrol will surge resources there. So they'll move it to other parts of the border. El Paso sector may see an increase, but we know that the vice president actually only went to the city of El Paso.
Right.
Which is very different than the outlying areas of that city where the majority of folks come across that border. Look, I think it's important that the president, the vice president, and the secretary start talking more about this, making those visits. Border Patrol is now in their 15th or 16th month of a crisis that has no end in sight. And they need some leadership. They need a pick-me-up in the worst way because their morale and their confidence is at an all-time low, unfortunately.
Chad Wolf, thanks so much for your time and your analysis today.
All right, thank you.